They say the American dream is a white picket fence, a freshly trimmed lawn, and a neighborhood where everyone minds their own business. For about 5 years, that was exactly what I had. A little slice of perfection right here in Falmere Heights, a sleepy suburb nestled on the edge of northern Georgia. I had my Tuesday lawn crew, my porch swing that creaked just the right amount, and a mailbox that didn't lean. Not once. Life was easy, predictable, until she moved in. Her name was Cheryl Prescott, but we all started calling her Clipboard Cheryl by the end of the first week. She had that kind of presence, like a substitute teacher who walks in and starts assigning homework before learning your name. Sharp bob, red lipstick, sunglasses even on cloudy days, and of course, the clipboard. Always the clipboard. She moved into the Tudor on Maple Lane, 3 houses down from me. The place had been vacant for a while, so at first, I was excited. A fresh face. Maybe someone to trade tomato plants with. But no, Cheryl didn't come to grow tomatoes. She came to grow control. The day after her moving truck pulled away, she started making rounds. Not to introduce herself, not to say hello, but to inspect. At first, it was subtle. A tilted glance at a mailbox. A measuring tape flashed too quickly to be polite. Then, the memo started. Printed notes folded neatly and tucked into mailboxes like some twisted form of origami. Please note your trash bin was visible at 9:06 a.m. Holiday lights must be removed within 7 days of the new year. And my personal favorite, lawn gnomes exceeding 12 inches may constitute a visual distraction. At first, it was almost funny. Ridiculous. We joked about it on the neighborhood app. Someone called her the HOA hawk. Another photoshopped her face onto a medieval inquisitor. We laughed until she became president of the HOA. Turns out, Cheryl didn't just have opinions. She had plans. She ran unopposed because nobody else wanted the job, and within 2 weeks, she had rewritten half the HOA handbook. Things that had never been a problem before suddenly became violations. Hanging flower baskets. Wind chimes over 70 decibels. Even American flags were briefly debated before a veteran on the street threatened to call his congressman. I kept my head down. I followed the rules. And every Tuesday at 8 a.m. sharp, my lawn service Miguel and his 2 sons would show up, do their thing, and leave the place looking like a golf course. Cheryl didn't like Miguel's truck. Said it was too loud. Said it dripped oil. Said it clashed with the aesthetic of the neighborhood. Then one morning, they didn't show up. No call. No email. Just an overgrown yard and a growing sense of dread. I reached out to Miguel. He sounded embarrassed. Said they received a formal complaint from the HOA and were told they were no longer authorized to operate on our street. My jaw dropped. Who filed the complaint? He hesitated, then said it. Cheryl. I marched straight to her door. She opened it with that fake smile, the kind you reserve for funeral parlors and HOA board meetings. It's important we maintain neighborhood standards, she said. Consistency matters. And frankly, your lawn crew was a bit unsightly. 5 years those men had worked this neighborhood. They knew every slope, every sprinkler head. Unsightly. The same crew who mowed half the street. I walked away without saying another word. But inside, something shifted. That night, sitting on my porch watching the sun dip behind Cheryl's neatly manicured hedges, I got an idea. A petty, stubborn, wonderfully stupid idea. I decided to stop mowing. Not just skip a week. Not just let it go until Saturday. No, I decided to let it grow. Let it all grow. The grass, the weeds, the wildflowers. Let it become whatever it wanted to be. I wasn't going to fight Cheryl with bylaws. I was going to fight her with nature. Week 1, the grass reached my ankles. Week 2, it brushed against my shins. Cheryl left a violation notice tucked under a rock on my porch. I framed it and hung it in my hallway. Week 3, the mailman stopped walking to my door. Started chucking letters from the curb. Week 4, the birds moved in. I counted 2 nests in the bush near the front steps. The local possum started showing up again. I named him Paul. Then, something unexpected happened. A neighbor, Mrs. Langley, sweet woman, retired teacher, always wore cardigans, let her hedge go. Just a little. Then the Johnsons stopped edging their sidewalk. Then the Andersons let the dandelions bloom across their whole front yard. It spread, like some kind of horticultural rebellion. Cheryl panicked. She started sending group emails, quoting bylaws, calling emergency HOA meetings. Only 3 people showed up to the potluck she hosted to restore neighborhood pride. Meanwhile, I was documenting everything. Photos, dates, screenshots. I even recorded a conversation where Cheryl admitted to canceling my lawn crew. Every blade of grass in my yard became evidence. Then came the county inspector. Clipboard in hand, he walked through my yard like it was a rainforest exhibit. Said he hadn't seen anything like it in years. But no violations. Not a one. I was within every regulation. Turns out the HOA can't enforce aesthetics alone. I smiled and offered him lemonade. He took it. After that, Cheryl got desperate. Sent letters. Left notes. Called my bluff with threats of legal action. I filed a formal complaint against her for abuse of power. Attached every photo, every email, every quote. A week later, the district attorney's office reached out. They were opening an inquiry. That was the spark. Suddenly, neighbors who had stayed quiet started talking. Miss Patel shared how Cheryl fined her for excessive shade from her magnolia tree. The Parkers got ticketed for unapproved brick pavers on their walkway. Each story chipped away at Cheryl's polished image. The press got involved. A local blog picked up the story, then a legal podcast. HOA reform advocates started emailing me. Then came the audit. Turns out, Cheryl had been approving budgets for landscaping contracts with a company partially owned by her cousin. No competitive bids. Inflated invoices. A paper trail that smelled like fertilizer. When the dust settled, Cheryl was removed from her position. The HOA board issued a formal apology. And the bylaws? Rewritten. With community input. Imagine that. But Cheryl wasn't done. She filed a lawsuit against me and 5 others. Claimed emotional distress, defamation, property devaluation. Her case didn't last a month. The judge dismissed it with prejudice. Ordered her to pay our legal fees. Even made her issue a public retraction. After that, her house went up for sale. Fast. No goodbye. No final words. Just a moving van and silence. In the end, my lawn stood 4 feet tall and full of bees. Kids called it the Jungl. Neighbors came by just to sit on the bench I built out front. We planted wildflowers. Started a community compost bin. Held monthly potlucks in the park. And Cheryl? Her name still gets mentioned sometimes. Usually as a punchline. Careful, don't go full Cheryl on them. But the truth is, she did something remarkable. Without meaning to, she brought us together. Her obsession with control reminded us what community really means. Not conformity, not surveillance, but connection. So yeah, maybe I went a little overboard. Maybe the Jungl was more than necessary. But when I look out at our street now, the laughter, the color, the life, I know we made the right choice. And every spring, we let it grow. Just for a week. No mowers. No trimmers. Just bees, blooms, and the freedom to be a little wild. Let us know in the comments where you're watching from and if you've ever had your own Cheryl. We want to hear your stories, your rebellions, your little acts of lawn defiance. Because sometimes, the quietest revolutions start with the loudest grass.